Welcome to the �story𝗃𝗃 podcast, a place for in-depth analysis of stories, mainly from Webtoon. Co-hosted by sharp, witty, and dare I say, thirsty fans, we dive deep in every episode, analyzing character struggles, relationship development, and of course, theories. We also interview people working in creative industries. You can follow the �story𝗃𝗃 on YouTube, podcast platforms, and social media. For bonus content, sneak peeks, and more, you can support the �story𝗃𝗃 on Patreon. We're really appreciative of your likes, subscribes, follows, comments, and ratings on all platforms. Thanks for listening to the �story𝗃𝗃, and let's get started. Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 107 of Hyacinth, and this is the second episode that came out in the batch of 6 with season 3. So yes, exciting, and we have Fwoot and Ocean.
Hello.
Hi.
All right, and Fwoot will start us off.
Sorry, I just want to say that it's exciting to be back for the new season. So.
Yes, it is.
I guess, I think I'm beginning. Okay, so Purple Hyacinth, episode 107, and we begin with narration. It's all black. You know, we see like the upper part of a house, and the background, or like the sections in between like the drawings, becomes white instead of black. The narration continues. I used to hate dreaming about you. And we see Lauren with like her arms crossed over her knees, and she's like hiding her face and sitting down. And her narration is, because it reminded me of something I couldn't feel anymore. And this is a direct callback to episode 24, I think. I'm pretty sure it's 24, yeah. And we see Lauren looking up. And she's looking at 2 trees, I think, in a stone wall. I'm not entirely sure. And then something falls on her, and it's a teddy bear. And we see Dylan popping up from the window above her. And he says, "Why are you hiding here? The maids are searching for you everywhere." By the way, they're like 12 in the scene. Lauren
also
it's
funny that he says maids, right? So we see right away. I mean, we know already that Lauren has maids, but now it's just like, I don't know, who has maids? Rich people have maids.
Yeah. I mean, we know Lucy from like one of the really early episodes, I think episode 1. Lauren grabs the teddy bear by the arm and pulls it down, and she says, "How did you find me?" And Dylan looks up and says, "Well, it's been 5 years since we've been friends, so ... And I kind of want to talk about that, because at this point it's probably like XX17, and I was thinking about this last night, and this means that the year they met would have been like XX12-ish, maybe XX11. And a notable thing that happened in XX12 is that the Circus Royale was founded, but because they met in this year, I'm guessing that this is when Rosenthal got hired by the Sinclairs, because then Dylan and Lauren would have met by association. And so what happens 2 years later from XX12 is the publication of the Snapdragon pamphlets, and a lot of people suspect Mr. Rosenthal to be like the leader, or like to at least have been a part of Snapdragon, given how like Snapdragon's a flower and Mr. Rosenthal is the gardener. And I feel like it's really interesting, because in those 2 years between XX12 and XX14, that could have been the time in which Lauren's parents and Mr. Rosenthal developed that like idea that they wanted to like create the socialist group, and they got like other people, and in that time they sort of built up that group in secret, and then they started publishing in XX14.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense that they would have met then when they were hired. Then you would have heard of me, but like, yeah, that makes sense. It is pretty cool, by the way, that if Mr. Rosenthal is indeed part of the Snapdragon, that it's very normal for people who have nothing to lose to be part of a revolution, right? They have nothing to lose and everything to gain. But for people who are already in positions of power to be part of a revolution, that is very telling about like their moral values. The fact that the Sinclairs wanted to do better for people when their life was comfortable. So kudos to them.
So Lauren says, you know, the painting Dakan got for Tristan on his birthday last year, and she looks up to Dylan, and Dylan looks down and he says, the one he always brags about every time he visits. And I love the subtle Dagestan. We love to see it, you know. And Lauren says, I accidentally tore it. Uncle Tristan forgave me, but I know he lied when he said he wasn't sad. Just like, oh my god, I'm gonna cry. And
No.
Dylan reaches down to her and he says, "Heesh, your lie detector ability really isn't convenient sometimes." And Lauren buries her face in the teddy bear and she's like, I don't need you to remind me that. I want to make it up to him, but it's going to cost a fortune to get it repainted. And where am I going to get that money? And I don't know,
so,
like, isn't Lauren's family rich? I saw that. I was like, oh, yeah, money.
She's a kid, right? She doesn't have access to her parents' money necessarily, right? And especially if they're not ready to be a spoiled brat, it could be that they, you know, like, no, Lauren, like, you don't just get money when you want, right? When you ask for it.
Yeah.
But I love how Lauren shows the sense of responsibility. She, you know, feels like she has to repair the damage that she's done. Other kids would be like, oh, whatever, sorry, and like forget about it.
I feel like the repairing the damage that has been done has become like a very common theme in Purple Hyacinth. Like we see it with Will. I want to highlight episode 64. We see it with Will, and Kim tells him like, you don't need to fix everything, after he's like, I have to fix your watch, right? And then we see it with like Kieran trying to make reparations with Lauren post season 1. And we see it with like, I don't know if it's really as much with like adult Lauren, because hers is more of like a kind of revenge thing, but also just wanting to take down the Phantom Scythe for like you know, being terrorists, and she's driven by a lot of guilt. So I don't really know. Do you think that Lauren's current motivation within like the current PH, not this flashback, is driven by like a need to like fix something? Because I could see it as her being like, I need to like redeem myself, you know, after causing Dylan, or after being the reason Dylan died.
I feel like she's very like guilt driven. Like even here we're seeing like she feels guilty about ripping the painting and she just wants to do something about it. And I think that just carries on into her adulthood. She feels guilty about Dylan. She feels guilty about surviving, and she just wants to try to fix it in the only way that she can.
Yeah, I concur. Which is one of the things I love about Lauren. If you want to hear something awful, so often when there's a male like webtoon character that I like personally, I kind of get a little jealous of the female character that he's with, because I'm like, oh, I want this guy for myself. But Lauren, even though I love Kieran, I have no problem. I don't feel a shred of jealousy, virtual jealousy, fantasy jealousy for Lauren, because I love Lauren. I just love her to pieces. So, and one of the reasons is her sense of responsibility and, you know, moral certitude. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like to like a relationship, you know, like a fictional relationship, you have to have like a pretty good like, or like you have to like the two characters in the relationship a lot, because like if you're only like one of them, then it's like, yeah, I would understand that jealousy too. You're like, man, I could do so much better than the person you're with, you know?
I love that India ship you with Lauren and Kieran.
Interesting. Never thought of that. Never thought of the poly perspective.
So Lauren buries her head in the teddy bear and she says, it seems impossible. I don't know what to do, so I've just been hiding. I feel so awful. I'm too embarrassed to see anybody. And Dylan says, you're so embarrassed, but you don't mind telling me about all of it? And she looks up and she says, your opinion doesn't really count. And to this,
Lauren.
Dylan whacks her with his hat.
Appropriately.
Yeah, I mean, as he should. Like, come on, Lauren. And she yells at him, you really should stop casually throwing your hat around. You'll end up tearing it one day, and I won't help you mend it. And this is what I noticed last night, because Dylan's hat has a patch on it when we see it. Like, you can see it in episode 49. You can see it like whenever he shows up in his hat, and you can see it like on Lauren's, in episodes with like Lauren's board and the hat is there. There's a little patch mark. And I felt like I vaguely remembered something about like Lauren knowing how to sew or something.
I think she said that she patched it up for him.
I went back to episode 49 and I found this panel of her saying, let me find it, hold on. I found this panel of her saying, I regret ever mending it for you, which means that she's the one who fixed it, even though here she was like, I'm never gonna fix it for you. Right. And I'm like, oh my God.
It was nice.
Like, yeah, I wanted to like drop to my knees and cry, you know.
Their friendship is rock solid. You know, the reason she says she doesn't care about his opinion is because she feels safe around him. Mm-hmm. He's the one that like will never judge her no matter what. That's what she means by that. It doesn't mean that she like discounts his opinion. It means that she knows that he'll accept her no matter what.
It's so true. Like, something I would say to my husband, like, yeah, all right, like, I don't really need your input on that. Like, you know, like in a joking way, but not really serious.
Yeah, so Dylan jumps down from the window and he says, it's a hat. It's not going to tear from this. Come on, let's get you out of this sulking state. He grabs her and pulls her up and he says, I know exactly what you need right now.
Which, by the way, for like a 12-year-old or that age to do that, that's like very emotionally intelligent.
Yeah.
When I was 12, I don't know if I was able to do such a thing, like recognize my friend was sad and say, okay, I'm going to get you to be not sad.
No, when I was 12, it was the time when people were discovering swear words, you know, like no one was as pure as Dylan. Discovering swears and dirty jokes. So we cut to a different location and it's the docks, and we can see the ocean and we can see that there's like a festival going on and there's like a lot of art being featured, and we see some ships and Lauren, she's looking out to it, and then we see her back to us, and then we see Dylan and he says, it's a festival. My father told me about it because he has a booth selling flowers. There are artists and musicians and all sorts of stuff. Wait, I feel like I skipped a panel. I just realized, like, hold on. Okay, never mind. Maybe it's later. Yeah, it is later. Never mind. Okay, so Lauren, she kind of has like a blank look on her. Oh, sorry, I skipped dialogue. My bad. Okay, there are artists and musicians and all sorts of stuff. Around 8 p.m., they'll release lanterns into the sky near the dock. And that caught my attention because I am a diehard Tangle fan. Like, I remember the day I watched that movie for the first time, and I would live and die by that movie.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that song is my favorite. Last I See the Light. Oh my God. Yeah, I sing it all the time, and literally that harmony where the Flynn and Rapunzel are singing and it's warm and clear and bright and the world is somehow lifted, like when they have that harmony there, somehow lifted, literally one of the most breathtaking moments in music.
Literally the best Disney movie. I will fight anyone and everyone on this.
Yeah, I watched it so many times, by the way. I watched it with my kids when it first came out, and then I watched it like a billion times myself afterwards.
Yeah. So Lauren has a blank expression on her face, and then she like brightens up, and the narration picks up again and says that insouciance. Maybe. I'm not entirely sure. My English vocab is really good, you know, as you can see.
I Googled this word 5 minutes before this podcast started because I didn't know how to say it. So here we go. Insouciant. Insouciant. It means indifferent or a casual lack of concern.
Mm-hmm. We see this really cute expression of Dylan and this really cute panel of Dylan, and his expression is like a really soft smile. The narration continues.
You know what I see that smile as like a kind of like a self-satisfied smile. Where like, oh, I did it, you know, I distracted her. I got her to be, you know, not focus on her sadness. It's like, yeah.
That is mine. He grabs her by the waist and like picks her up, and he says, "Let's go." And Lauren's like, she's like struggling in his arms, like she's trying to get down, you know. And she says, "Dylan, what are you doing?" And he says, "A few days ago, you said you've always wanted to be carried bridal style." And I'm like, okay, it's giving me flashbacks to episode 36. If you know what I mean, like after Lauren sprained her ankle, like from jumping out a window. Kieran,
so, I think that this is one of the like 3 signs that we have that Dylan is into her? Number 1 being where he said, "You're beautiful," and then he's like, "Oh, it's beautiful," and he was like, "Oh, I met the Daisy Crown," right? Which he didn't, right? He met her. Number 2 was something else in this set of episodes, and I don't remember what it was, but this thing is also like, I don't know, it's a little bit of a hint to me that he liked her in his 12-year-old way.
Also, I don't actually mean that like I believe in the Dylan is Kieran theory.
Yes, okay.
It's an old theory and one I like to talk about ironically, but if they are actually similar, or sorry, not similar, the same person, I think I might quit the web too, because I'd be like, no, that is too far. But yeah, they really like their Dylan and Kieran parallels, you know, with like Dylan wanting to be a doctor and Kieran stitching up Lauren and like the bridal carry. You know?
I think they're doing it to tease us.
Yeah, and I'm like, why are they giving this fuel to the theorists? You know, like why try to lead us on like the Dylan is Kieran theory? Like, because
they like it. You have not seen, they like to torture us. This is their modus operandi.
Oh man.
See, yeah, I think
if they are the same person. Sorry.
I was gonna say, I feel like they're kind of setting up another ship here if like Dylan isn't dead, and then people are gonna fight over Kieran versus Dylan.
I thought it was, if Dylan is alive, and this is gonna be a love triangle thing, I really want Dylan and Kieran to be the ones who end up together, because I'm like gonna like pass away if Lauren's stuck in a love triangle, deciding between Kieran or Dylan. I'm gonna be like, nah, this is why I ship 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, you know, like
that's funny.
Gotta stay away from that love triangle.
I don't know what I think about love triangles, but I probably, I'm fine with them, I guess, because I don't recall ever being annoyed at them. But that would be very cool. I did not think of that.
I'm pretty sure that Soph and F said that they were not going to do any love triangles in PH. Like, but this was like 1 to 2 years ago. So
yeah, they probably
I'm hoping they keep that word, you know. And Lauren says, "Dylan, this is not bridal style," and he says, "It's not," and Lauren's like, "No." But also I'm like, wow, Dylan must be pretty strong to like pick up Lauren, you know, and carry her. Like, even if it's not bridal style, I'm like, damn, how buff are you?
Well, he's a little snooky kid. Yeah, I think we used to pick each other up as kids. I mean, I don't know how long you can carry her for, but yeah.
I'm pretty sure the framing, or like how these episodes like were paid, or not these episodes, these next few panels are paced, is actually different, because someone on the Discord just recently pointed it out. I'm pretty sure that they were like one of these upcoming images and then just white, and then like you just see like they were more spaced out, but anyways, now they're closer together, and so we see a montage of like Kieran and Lauren like running through past the docks. We see them visiting Mr. Rosenthal. We see I just realized the change. Oh my god.
What?
Okay. I'll share it. So oh my god. Okay, sorry. It just hit me. Okay, so we see Dylan and Lauren, they're walking past some stands, and then we see people walking past them, and it's like the only time that we see like non-named characters that aren't like black shadows, you know, like in this, really. Or we see another dude, but like generally in these montages you'll see that like they use like black shadows to symbolize people, but here we've got some like little extras. And the thing with that is that if you look very closely to the right side, there's a kid drawing, and he has dark hair, and in the original panel it was just Dylan and Lauren and the kid, because you know who that kid looked like? It looked like young Kieran.
Wait, where, what, when, why? I don't see any kid drawing. I see an adult.
The
little shadow?
It's really hard to see now, but if you look to the right
first one
of the third panel in the sequence of many,
it's behind.
Yeah,
okay.
he's behind everyone, and he's in front of a canvas, and there's some old screenshots, you know, of like that point this out, or like there were some old screenshots of like the original panel, but they've changed it now. And
wait, how did we the original panel from what, like a day ago?
When the comic originally, or when this episode originally dropped.
Wait, they changed it in one day?
Yeah, they changed it today, I think.
What did it look like before?
I'm not sure, like I can like DM it to you on Discord, but basically it's like the same as this panel here, but without any of the extra unnamed characters in it. It was just shadows. And you can kind of still see those shadows there from before, and these other dudes were just drawn over those shadows. But that kid in the background in front of the canvas was always there.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. 1 second. The fact that they changed it, right? Because if they added more like drawn out characters, it was just probably to distract us from the other, the first version, which had only Kieran drawn. Okay, I'm on board. That's Kieran.
Yeah, it has to be Kieran. Like, why would they try to like distract us at this point? You know, like kind of sus.
Very sus. I think they did a worse job by pointing out attention, because the fandom misses nothing. The fact that they changed it. So I like it. I'm so happy.
Yeah, this probably means that Kieran wasn't in the Phantom Scythe until post Allendale, though. Which really makes me wonder. So what's that like? There's a old panel of him in a flashback where he's like 9-ish. And so I'm thinking like, what was going on in that? Because he was probably a Greychapel orphan, but also like if he wasn't in the Phantom Scythe yet. Sorry?
That seemed like a police raid or something.
Police raid?
Yeah.
I was also thinking like, he kind of looks the same age, like in that scene, the same age as Bella when she was taken into the Circus Royale. So I mean, like, you know, maybe like Circus Kieran has some more proof right now, you know.
I mean,
but then I don't understand what he would be doing here if he was in the circus, you know.
Well, it makes sense if he was at the Greychapel, or he was a Greychapel orphan, because he could be like selling his artwork because he's really good at drawing, so he could be a little bit of money or something.
Right. Yeah.
So the next panel is Lauren and Dylan, and they're eating food, and it looks like Lauren has like some bread and she's eating like dango or like mochi or something. And then Dylan, I swear I don't think they're the same person. Mindy, I swear.
That was true. Freudian slip. You think Dylan is
No, I swear. Please. I would rather defend Lady A than believe in the Kieran is Dylan theory. And I hate Lady A. So
yeah, that's serious. Okay, I got it.
Yeah. So we've got Dylan, and he's eating some blue cotton candy, and he's fashioned a mustache out of it. And then the next panel is Dylan getting shamed for some reason, and he looks like he's about to cry. Like his eyes are super big, and there's like dots for pupils, you know. And this guy looks like a bard. Like it looks like he has a trumpet in his other hand, and he's like, maybe they were trying to mess with him.
Maybe he's like, it's like he was performing, and Dylan was, you know, like they was holding.
Dylan's holding up like a stick,
help out,
too.
Right?
And Lauren's laughing, and then we see them on the beach, and they're tossing the teddy bear around. And the last panel we see, as the sequence ends, is the teddy bear with like a bit of light flare in the sky.
So pretty. Mission accomplished. He made her feel better. Such a good little boy.
Interesting. I think that's a pig. Just
yeah, I saw like the snout, and I was like, but I wasn't really sure because I was calling it a teddy bear, and I was like, is it too late to backtrack now? Because like I saw that snout earlier, and I was like, I'm pretty sure teddy bears don't look like that, but okay.
That's cute.
I feel like people are going to use this to build on the like Kieran's going to build a farm theory.
What?
Or like Kieran has a farm theory, you know.
What? Why did we
This
get
is
that
like
theory
old fandom, Mindy. Like Kieran's purple hyacinth farm.
from? Well, the flower farm I get, but like, why would it have pigs on it?
I could see it, you know, it's what everyone does when they settle down, you know, they get a
Or,
farm.
oh my god, I'm gonna become like, okay, give me a second. I don't really believe in this, but I just want to play up the like crazed theorist role for a second. The pig actually represents how Lauren, as an APD officer, contributes to an oppressive system. And actually, like, her accepting the pig and like holding that pig and whatever is like how she still holds up that system or whatever.
I think that is very postmodern. Not that I'm not sure if I'm using postmodern correctly, but whatever. I'm trying to think of a word for like.
I know, yeah.
Very subjective interpretation.
Yeah, I know someone has been called a pig at some point. In PH. I'm not sure if it's like if it was like the APD to like the PS or like the PS to the APD, but I'm pretty sure it's happened at some point.
I think what's ringing a bell in my mind, do you remember the bar scene where Kieran throws that thing at the people who are like making fun of him? So I feel like maybe there. But like way back when we first meet Kieran. All right, Ocean, to the lanterns.
All right, yeah. So it's funny that you brought up earlier. I can't remember if it was before the podcast or like during the podcast, but it does really remind me of the Tangled scene, which is fun. I literally watched that 2 days ago.
Oh.
So the first thing that came to my mind, but yeah, you see the sunset from the pig being tossed and it goes into the night sky with all the other lanterns lit up in there. You see Dylan and Lauren lighting their lantern with their piggy, which is adorable. She says, "So this is for your mom." Yup. You know, you always think that your ability is a burden, but it can actually do a lot of good. It's a very nice setting to talk about this, you know, very relaxing. After my mom passed away, you were the only one who could really see through me.
Aww, it's so sad to hear him talk about his mom. He's such a little kid.
There was like a bit of question, like what happened with Dylan's mom, and we just thought like, you know, like wasn't Mr. Rosenthal like trying to like, wasn't he in like the dating sphere? At the point of like 49, because like I feel like Lauren said something about how like this is why women don't like your dad to Dylan.
Oh yeah.
That's funny. But yeah, I found this really interesting because there's kind of like, I feel like there's a theme of like dead moms going on right now with PH. Like we've got Annabelle March, right? So dead mom. Then we have Clara's mother and Sandman's probably wife, you know, like what happened with her, you know. And then we have Josephine, who's not quite dead yet, but is basically there, you know. We got Rachel, of course, and who is Lauren's mom, and Kieran's parents are probably dead, you know. But yeah, a lot of like, I think specifically to like March, you know, dead wife and dead son, and then really sus dad who's probably 𝗵𝗲𝗰𝗀, you know, or dead kid, not dead son, because March had a daughter who was also Lauren and Dylan's age.
Right. Yeah, I also wondered if the mom passed away in mysterious circumstances. So far, it's just like innocuous, but like, who knows?
Yeah,
maybe that's like linked to why his dad kind of started like the Snapdragon, if that is, you know.
Yeah,
actual.
Right.
And
maybe she died unjustly.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too, because especially like that parallel with March, you know, and because of the timeline that we mentioned earlier between like XX12 and XX17, with Snapdragon being formed in XX14, I'm like, kind of.
Yeah.
Is something happening there? Like what? Like Mr. Rosenthal cannot get a break. I will suspect him to the end of time, you know.
Anyway, like I don't know, because watch us like everything, like our suspicions are just totally unfounded, and she like passed away of like pneumonia, and Mr. Rosenthal is just literally just a gardener. Like,
yeah, like man, that makes you kind of feel bad for Mr. Rosenthal. Like, imagine your wife died, and then everyone's like, that makes you the leader of the Phantom Scythe. So it's like with March, you know, like that's what March got too. But yeah, no father figure is safe from Hyacinth. Right? They're all suspicious. Sorry.
March is sus literally just because he's too nice.
Yeah, literally. Like
we're such critical people.
Yeah.
I mean, keep your friends close and your enemies closer, right?
No, literally. March. My Discord status right now is keep your friends close and your himbos closer. So but yeah, anyways, it's off topic.
But yeah, so Dylan's saying, you know, you always think that your ability is a burden, but it can actually do a lot of good. And I feel like he looks kind of hopeful here, and he wants to kind of change the mood a little bit. Says, after my mom passed, you were the only one who could really see through me. It felt a little bit less lonely. So sweet.
Lauren was there for him too.
Okay, but guys, hear me out.
Yeah.
Dylan dying, right? And then Lauren's parents dying and her not having Dylan to cover her. Because Dylan had Lauren when his mom passed away, but Lauren didn't have Dylan when her parents passed away.
Yeah, Lauren is a sad little girl. She had a lot happen to her. Poor kid.
I feel like this is extra sad because, like, skipping to the end a little bit, like, this is what she's thinking about, like, when she's, like, on basically death's door. And this is, like, bolded. It felt a little bit less lonely. And she's thinking about him. Like, that makes me so sad.
Right. You know, it's interesting because I had a really good friend, kind of in my formative adolescent years. And it's been years, like, we drifted apart, and it's been 14 years since we've been close, and she's still extremely close to my heart. Like, we almost never talk. We're not similar anymore. We wouldn't really find common ground, but because we were so close during our formative years, she's like just stuck inside me. She'll never get out. And like, I think about her fairly often, and like, yeah, Dylan and Lauren had that close relationship where, yeah, like you said, death's door, and that's what she's thinking about.
It's really beautiful. Like, I don't know, that's very sweet. And you see her smile, like her getting kind of like concerned looking and serious to a little bit more lighthearted. And he says, so don't let your ability beat yourself up too much. I'm sure whatever you come up with for Tristan, he'll love it. Which is just very sweet, And then she says, for your mom. And he said, and Tristan's torn painting.
Totally the same level.
No, but like that moment had me like, oh my God, the callback, to like earlier. And just like, I feel like this episode really kind of like goes into more of like Lauren and Tristan's like history together, because, we don't really know entirely what Rachel and Alexander were like. Like we've seen them a couple times, but like we mainly only hear about them through like what people say about them, so we never actually like really see like their dynamic with like Lauren and Tristan or whatever. But I thought, like, for me, like something I was really looking forward to this season was Lauren and Tristan's relationship, because prior to this season it was like Tristan probably knows Lauren is Loon, right? Just given like his line of like given his line like, what's your angle, Lauren, right? And like he literally lives in the same house with her. I feel like he, like, as a chief of police, he would know when Loon was like doing stuff, and he'd be like, when Lauren's not home, and then in the morning there's a Loon report, like and so like he has to get to chief of police somehow. Like, that man has brains, he would figure it out. And so like, to me, like I speculated that like he knows that Lauren is Loon, and so that kind of like brought a lot of like emotional significance to me, at least, like under like with the speculation, you know, him watching Lauren die in episode 105, right, with the explosion. And I was really excited over the hiatus to see how this relationship would play out, because Tristan basically raised Lauren for the past 10 years. And I know she's adult now, but like they've been living together for the past 10 years at least. And he took her in at a point that she was in a very like emotionally vulnerable state. Like her parents just passed away, her best friend just passed away, you know, a new terrorist group just got it, like just declared itself, you know, like that's a lot for a 12-year-old kid. And yeah, he still took her in, you know. And so I really like just seeing these little bits of their relationship, especially around this time, a little bit before Allendale, you know.
That's really interesting, because I feel like this is like before she knows Tristan well enough to know that he's not going to hold it against her. And I feel like even in the episodes we've seen with them, I don't remember the actual episode number, but it was an episode we did together when she comes down for breakfast after a loon event, and they're just very quiet.
The blueberry episode.
Yeah, I know. The pH master over here. But yeah, I feel like they're just very like cold, and they have, or not cold, but they have a very silent relationship where they understand each other in their adult life. So it's interesting to see them in the younger stages when they don't seem to understand each other that well.
I wonder though, like, because like Lauren's like very familiar with like Dakan, it seems, at this point, and like because like Dakan's like her godfather, you know, or they were both appointed godfathers, so I feel like they would be pretty like present in her life, given how like her family kind of just all lives in the same city. And Dylan makes a line earlier about how like Tristan always brags about it when they go to visit him, you know.
That's cute. I love how he's so proud of like Dakan's painting. I love it. I like seeing you in those.
There were some jokes about like Dakan being the leader, you know, and like him going to go get a painting from Kieran to redo like the one Tristan lost, and then you know he gets Kieran's business card, and then he's like, I think I really need like an assassin for the or for the Phantom Scythe, and he's just like he has this random business card, and he's like, I know exactly who.
Oh gosh, that's funny.
Yeah. Let's continue.
Yes. So he lightens the mood by saying, Tristan's torn painting. And of course, Lauren laughs. And we got this really beautiful scene of all the other lanterns going up, which is really cool because I feel like traditionally they represent people's wishes and, you know, like hopes for their future.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. What were you going to say?
I really love the composition of this panel because you have Dylan and Lauren to either side, and then the lanterns, like you can really see some lines of movement in it. And I don't know if I just noticed this because I draw a lot, but like there's like a bottom curve and then there's like a top curve. So the bottom curve starts from like Lauren's area and then it curves up a little bit, and you could maybe say it goes to the middle lantern, but then there's another curve starting at the middle lantern and it curves like a bit sharper, and there's a bit more curve. I don't really know if you can like tell what it is from this explanation, but like that's what I'm seeing right now. So yeah, really pretty panel, you know. It makes such a good phone wallpaper. I wouldn't even lie, like you know, literally like there's a perfect space for like the time to go when you open up your phone, you know.
Yeah, no, I think it's cool too how you can see the light in Dylan's hair in the next panel when he's looking up at the lanterns. And it gets a little bit more serious, and he says, do you think we could reach the stars if it's just one step at a time?
And honestly, okay, I know it's supposed to be like a serious panel, but it's kind of funny to me because I'm like, homie, you are the stars now. Like he's up there with them.
That's so sad.
No.
He's alive.
Yeah.
He's somewhere out there.
Also, it's when he says one step at a time, it's like you can't walk up the sky. I'm, just saying, but whatever. It's cute.
Oh, that's funny. But yeah, we see the ending of this, and it says, "It doesn't seem too bad, does it?" And then I feel like you see like a twinkle in Lauren's eyes.
And I also want to point out that this panel is reused from 49. And I think like in 49 too, it comes after like some other realization, I think. I don't remember which one, but like, something like Dylan says something profound and Lauren's like kind of like a little awestruck by it. And so that's a nice parallel.
Yeah. I noticed, I noticed a few panels are reused, but I think maybe it's her face after he tells her that she's beautiful. Might be that.
Yeah, but she has a realization. So she says, "I know what to do for Tristan's painting now. Thank you, Dylan." She runs off and he says, "Wait, Ren, where are you going?"
Is that a parallel to 24? Let me check. That's a parallel to 24. I'm gonna cry because in 24 she's chasing Dylan. So you guys can continue seeing it if I find it. Sorry?
Is the panel the same, you're asking?
Or I'm at the dialogue. Is there like a moment? I'm wondering if there's a moment in 24 when she's like, "Where are you going, Dylan?" But I don't entirely remember, and Webtoon's taking forever to load. So you guys can just move on and I'll tell you if I find it.
Yeah. So I was convinced that the lines that she heard that we had at the end of 105, where it's like, "Where are you going, Ren?" or something like that. I thought for sure it was like an actual person saying it, like either Dylan or maybe Abel, but turns out no, because we hear that, "Where are you going?" And then she wakes up. You see, or there's a fragment of her mouth, she's coughing, and her eyes are like slitting open. It's very hazy. And then she opens her eyes and she sees Dylan. So she's hallucinating him or something. And she thinks to herself, even 10 years later, I was still devoured by guilt. And again, okay, she's not obviously thinking it at the time, but whatever. This is her narration.
I think we should have a moment of silence for all the people who thought that she was hallucinating Sandman as Dylan.
I did. That's what I thought. It was my theory.
Yeah. Low-key, a little surprised that they brought Lauren back this soon. Because I thought, like, going into season 3, I thought that like Loon's survival would be like revealed at the end of 111, just to like milk that Loon death a bit more, because to me like 105 kind of like lacked stakes, like there were very much some very obvious stakes, like the bomb, like that's pretty serious, but like we kind of always knew that like Loon was going to survive. And so I guess this could be like them just like not wanting to, like, to me, like I could see the scene or like them bringing Loon back so soon after 105 as like Purple Hyacinth just like not wanting have to even try to like trick the readers into thinking Loon is dead, because it's just like we can all see through it, but I feel like we don't really know when they're going to reunite with Kim, but I think like holding out on that suspense a bit while Kim and Will grieve a bit, that was like something I was going to suspect,
Yeah, I'm with you. Sorry, go ahead, Ocean.
I was just going to say, honestly, thank goodness they didn't, because I read this before work and I would have committed to reading all of the episodes and being like,
that's funny.
I mean, but also like, bruh, Webtoon literally spoiled it, because like if you look at 108 and
I know the thumbnails,
you literally see Kieran and Lauren in the thumbnails, and then you see 111 with Lauren with bandages, and I'm like, Webtoon, come on.
That was so stupid. Sorry.
The The
I don't
only
want to criticize
panels the only season 2 thumbnails or season 3 thumbnails I accept right now are 106 with Will looking super fine, Dylan's cute ass smile for this episode, and then my Queen Darcy in 110. So
I'm totally with you. The cliffhanger of 106 is like, oh my God, we found the bodies, Luna's dead. And then it's like, just open up the thumbnails, you'll see they're not.
Yeah, and I thought like, because 106 really like goes into Kim's grief, and how she feels like she kind of like sabotage, but how she kind of sabotaged Lauren a bit, and how like maybe like it was kind of her fault that Lauren died, and we see this with like Lauren or Kim failing to catch Lauren when Lauren was in her place in 103, and they read some of those panels, and then we see Kim shooting Lauren, which is like, whoa. But yeah, so like I really wanted to like I was really hoping and that we could like sit on that as an audience together, like just kind of sit and mourn with like Kim at least, because I think that's how you make it believable, because if you like kind of hold out on this reveal that like, oh hey, they're not actually dead, then like it really gets you to focus on what Kim is feeling right now, because even if you know that like Loon survived, I think just the general absence of them really plays a part in how we view Kim handling her grief.
Right. I agree. I think that it would have been much more suspenseful for us, even if we could say, okay, for story purposes, it doesn't make sense that they would kill the protagonist. Like, even if that's in our minds, I think it would make it much more exciting and suspenseful if they had, dragged it out over like a good couple of episodes where everyone's searching and no one knows what happened. And, we would be like tense and scared and nervous for them. I think it would have been much more fulfilling, especially like, because we were talking about how the factory arch kind of dragged a little, right? Where it was like, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. So here we got the resolution to our suspense, like really, really fast. Yeah. Meaning like, are they alive? Like, okay, yes, they are.
And a lot of people I saw talk, I remember seeing a lot of people say that like, hey, we binged the episode, so we don't really have a really good idea of the pacing right now. And I think that's true, I want to see how like non-fast pass readers will react to this. But I think that for pacing wise, it should work if you're reading it weekly, but also in a binge, because, readers in the future are going to discover the series and read through it, and they're not going to be reading this at the point that we are reading it, on February 23rd. And so it just kind of like makes you wonder, like, imagine being like a new reader and you're reading 105 and you're like, wow, that episode was so cool, and like what's going on with Loon and what state are they in, and you read 106 and you're like, wow, this is our reality now, right? Loon's dead. And you still have like the inkling in your mind, like they're probably not dead given their main characters in plot armor, but like wow. But then like, I mean, like, how long does it take to read an episode? Like 5 to 10 minutes, 10 minutes later, and you see Lauren again, like, alive, not well, but alive, and you're like, oh. Like,
yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of excited. I'm kind of excited to see the two different points of views. Like, I'm kind of that Kim isn't going to know Lauren's alive for a while. And so we're going to see her still grieve Lauren and, see how her and Will's like relationship kind of like, I would think almost like bond together a little bit over it. And also see Lauren and Kieran bond in their own way over. I haven't read the next episode, so whatever they're gonna do after this.
Right.
Yeah, I'm really, something I like was really looking forward to with season 3 was the exploration of Kim and Will, like after the explosion, because there were a lot of parallels between Lauren and Dylan, and then Kim and Lauren. And earlier in season 2, we actually find out that Will did know Dylan. They were friends, and in 106, we see Will having some flashbacks, and so to Allendale, and so that was like really interested me in like wow, I really like just want to see these parallels, and I really want to like see how they explore this grief, because to me, like Lauren being dead for Kim and Will was like Loon being off for Lauren and Kieran, you know? So they have to like figure out what to do now with this loss in their life.
That's a good parallel.
Yeah, it is. It's interesting because I'm not saying Dylan and Kieran are the same person, but it's interesting because I feel like they're about a parallel Kim and Will's relationship to Lauren and Kieran's relationship. The way that they almost did that with Dylan and Lauren.
Yeah.
So I'm not the same person, but I think it's, you know, interesting that they chose to do that.
I just had a horrible thought. Do you guys want me to share it with you? Okay, so you know how Lauren says like, I used to hate dreaming about you because it reminded me of something I couldn't feel anymore. What if the reason she likes Kieran so much, and like one of like the allures for Kieran, for Lauren at least, is because he reminds her of Dylan? Like kind of like, because like it's not like entirely the same, but I think more of like their later season 2 dynamic is very much kind of like getting to almost Lauren and Kieran here, or Lauren and Dylan, because I think Lauren and Dylan's definitely a lot more pure, but the Lauren and Kieran relationship has become a lot more genuine in like recent episodes. And I'm not sure, maybe I'm just a little crazy,
right?
Because I feel like I would need to like look at this a little bit more, but it's giving me like, what if, you know?
I don't think so. I mean, maybe in the future his behavior will reflect to Dylan's, but up until now, Kieran has been like a sarcastic, cynical, like flippant fellow. And Dylan seems to be really, like you said, genuine, really sweet, really loyal, really giving and soft. So I don't think Lauren like is reminded of Dylan.
Yeah, I think for me it's more like episodes like 81, you know, and she visits his apartment, because that's like Kieran being genuine, and like his sarcasm is like, he doesn't like to be humorous, but like Kieran is like a really genuine guy sometimes, you know. So I don't know, I think I have to look into it more before I fully am like, yeah, Kieran reminds Lauren of Dylan. But I think this mainly stems from like all the parallels that they keep trying to make between Kieran and Dylan. So trying my best with this theory bait, you know. Yeah.
So she's waking up, whether we want her to or not. And she, you know, does seem to be hallucinating Dylan. And, you know, it's kind of like this narration, even 10 years later, I was still devoured by guilt. And we see her eyes are opening wider and wider, and she sees this fire all over for not finding you, for not saving you, right? Because I think that unconsciously she is recalling back the ATD as the last time that she saw such, you know, the fire and destruction all around her. So she's coughing, and, you know, she starts lifting up her head. She opens her eyes again. She sees the fire. Then she turns down and is just looking at all the rubble and all the destruction. Everything is just broken around her. And then she sees a body on the floor, and she says, Kieran. And she is like, her hand is twitching, so it looks like she's trying to move, and she's grasping, clenching her hand, and she thinks to herself, one. It's just one. And basically, right, this is what Dylan, I think this is the tie-in, this is what Dylan said, oh, it's just one step at a time to get to heaven, right? So, sorry, I meant to get the stars. So that's what she's thinking as she's trying to reach Kieran. She clenches her hand. You know, we see like it's really physically taxing for her. She's seeing double. She's whimpering. She's clenching her fists, and she's like dragging herself along the ground. And this is really like this image of her with a fire and like gritting her teeth. Really, really, really impactful image of her just throwing her all just in moving. And she's like, one step, it's just one step, and she's kind of blacking out at the same time, just focused on you know, this body on the floor. And she does one more, and she eventually drives herself over to who is presumably Kieran. And then we see her like turn him over. I did not think it was Kieran, by the way. He did not look like Kieran. I don't know. Did you guys think so? Like when we first see his face?
I think it's just the art style changed a bit in between the two seasons, so it's like I think I especially noticed in 106 because we saw some of those like panels in the teaser for the trailer, and I remember seeing those and I was like, oh, their style's changed a bit. But something I really did want to point out was Lauren's panel where she's like really struggling. We see that like very like sketchy but detailed sort of image of her where she's like crying, she's like pulling herself up and she's like almost like screaming, right? That panel reminded me of the panel of Kim that's also very sketchy when she's pulling her leg out from like under the rubble, you know? And it's like, because like it's kind of like the same direction, you know, same perspective. I was like, parallels. And in that, it's Kim trying to go help Lauren, and now it's Lauren trying to go help Kieran.
Oh, yeah, it's good. It's good art. It's awesome. So she turns him over and then she checks for his pulse on his neck. So apparently she sees he's alive because she says, Kieran, wake up. And she shakes him. And she's like, come on, please. Shakes him again. Oh, like, it's very heart like rending. And she's like, please, you see her eyes. I'm like, yeah, this is, if you were about to cry with Dylan, I'm about to cry here. Oh gosh. And she's like, please wake up, Kieran.
Okay, look, I know in episode 84, Kieran was like, he was making like parallels between him and Cinderella. I want to propose a different princess. Kieran is Sleeping Beauty or Snow White. I think, no, he's Snow White because Kieran white, and then also he eats apples. So yeah, got to be woken up somehow, you know.
Yeah, he needs a kiss. Hello.
Yeah.
I'll do it. I'll be brave. I know it's a tough one, but you know someone's got to do
yeah,
the job.
Mindy taking one for the team, you know.
Did I tell you? I can't remember who I had a dream with Kieran.
Oh my god!
I just hugged him though. I did not kiss him, to my great sorrow. So funny. So Kieran, our dear boy, opens his eyes and he is also alive, which also I thought was pretty fast, but whatever, same thing.
Okay, but like, sorry. I wanted to mention, I feel like at this point, Kieran deserves to die, and not like the way like I want him to die for his crimes, but like more like let him rest, you know. Like let him sleep a bit, you know. Like I think he would appreciate it.
But they are in a burning building.
Sorry?
I mean, there's a fire. They gotta get out of there. So
Yeah.
you let him rest. He's
But I feel like Kieran at this point, he's like, death take me, you know, like arms wide open. He's just waiting for it, you know. He's like,
yeah, poor guy. Aww. So
but I won't let him die until I figure out what's going on with him and Bella. So
that's all you care. He's just a means for information.
Yeah. I mean, okay, Mindy, that is kind of like what he does though. Like he's very convenient at dropping exposition. Like, I mean, episode 81, like even starting Loon and having to lead on Apostle 7, you know. He's a little sus.
Oh, he's a little sus. He's literally the purple eyes.
I mean, okay, look, I don't want to get into okay. Yeah.
Okay, fine. No Kieran rants. The poor man is just almost survived a near-death experience. No Kieran rants. Anyway, so he wakes up and he's like, what happened? And, you know, barely eyes are open. And she says, the bomb exploded. I think it triggered the nitro on the second floor and the ceiling collapsed. We need to get out of here. And the narration again says, but on that night, Dylan, you saved me. Because they are, once again, she's repeating to herself, just one step. And they're holding on to each other, or really she's supporting Kieran. I really don't know how these people are still like on their feet. Like they were barely able to walk even before the explosion. They just got knocked onto the explosion.
Like I want, like, do they have like head injuries? Like they fell from the second floor. Did they like twist their ankles or anything? Because like I used to skate, you know, and like a pretty like fast fall, like you get whiplash on your braid. Like it's not fun. And like I did twist my ankle at one point because I like landed really weirdly on it. And so I'm like, bro, their legs must be made of something really special, like vibranium or something.
I think like sometimes like when you're in those kind of situations, like I feel like people would be surprised by what you're willing, or not willing, but what you're capable of.
Yeah.
Like it's not the same thing at all, but like I used to do MMA tournaments, and sometimes you don't even know you have a concussion. Like you don't know how hurt you are until all that adrenaline and everything is out of the system. And it's like in this life or death situation where they're surrounded by fire, and like they almost died multiple times this night. Like they're just like, you know what, let's get up and go and hop somewhere else. Like,
yeah. And I was a little confused by the narration of like, but on that night, Dylan, you saved me. I was kind of confused. I was like, does she mean like the lantern scene, or does she mean like Allendale? But I'm pretty sure she's referring to like the scene that we're seeing right now, right? Or she's like, on that night, you know, factor taking place on night. I don't really see like, because that guilt, you know, but also like seeing Dylan there, right? That motivated her to get out.
Right.
I think it like reminded her of what she was fighting for, you know?
Yeah. And the just one step. Yeah, so she repeats it over and over. They're staggering around, huffing and puffing. Everything is in flames around them. This time Kieran is just like completely, like he's barely walking. You know, she's upright and he's just collapsing. And yeah, one more step and you saved us. And that's how it is.
I do want to mention the author's note. The shonen genre has finally caught up to Purple Hyacinth, and the power of friendship has conquered all. In this essay, I will be proving that Kieran White is a brony.
I don't know shonen or brony, so please explain those terms.
Okay, so shonen. Okay, so brony is like a dude that likes My Little Pony. So My Little Pony, friendship is magic, you know. And then shonen, I'm pretty sure is like it's a anime genre. Shonen, I think it's like typically directed at like dudes, but literally like anyone likes it. So shonen manga. Also shonen manga are Japanese comics mainly marketed towards young teen boys between the ages of 12 and 18. So yeah, like the power of friend, like I don't know, do you know like My Hero Academia? I haven't watched a ton of shonen animes, but like when a couple years back I did watch like My Hero Academia, and that's very much like, you know, the power of friendship and like the importance of like friendships and relationships, you know. So yeah, it's like the power of friendship is saving Lauren and Kieran here, because Dylan and Lauren's friendship has motivated Lauren to get out of the fire.
I have a really funny side note. So I work at the post office now, and their slogan in the training academy was just one more day. And so when I was reading this, I was cracking up, because when I'm like delivering in a snowstorm, I'm like, just one more day. Like, this is it, just one more day. And I'm like, I know that's really dramatic, but it's clearly not going out of a building that's like burning. But you know, this is what I'm gonna think of now. I'm like, well, at least I'm not in no, I'm not in Hyacinth. Like
oh gosh, it's hilarious.
Yes. The actual slogan, just one more day. Don't leave us, please.
Yeah. I also like, oh, you saved us. Like Dylan saved both Kieran and Lauren, and
now they're in us.
Yeah, but the narration. Who is she talking to? Is she talking to Dylan? Does this mean she's talking to Dylan? Because you saved us.
I think
right?
It's in her mind.
And,
I don't think she's really
but like also because like isn't there like, because when narration comes up,
it's a flashback.
Like, it seems like she's talking to someone, you know, like, you know, on that night, you know, everything could have been different or whatever, right. You know. So I'm like, you saved us. Does that mean Dylan knows about Kieran at this point in the narration?
Okay.
Like if she's talking to Dylan right now,
I feel like she's
in this narration, because I feel like this narration is dialogue taken from like the far future, and in Purple Hyacinth the far future is like a month or two. But sorry.
Wait, now you there used to be a time where you were like, Dylan is dead for sure. So I see you come around on this.
It's not that, I mean, I want him to be dead, but I literally like I don't know. I just, whatever, you know, if he's like alive, like great, but I feel like he also, like, Kieran deserves to die, like just let him rest, you know. But it's kind of hard to be like, yeah, Dylan's dead when they keep like teasing his character, you know. So like, well, I think it would be better for Lauren's character if he stays dead.
Are you sure in yours, Kat? Like he's either dead, dead and alive.
But basically, like, if Lauren's talking to Dylan here and she's like, you saved us referring to Lauren and Kieran, does that mean like Dylan has to know who Kieran is because he has to know what us means?
Yeah, if she's telling him the story, I feel like, you know, she's catching him up. So it doesn't necessarily mean that like he knows him. It could be that it's like after he's dead and Lauren's telling him. But personally, honestly, I think it's literally just her telling the story. I don't even think she's telling it to someone.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's just like, because she's talking in past tense right now, which is like, because like even 10 years later, I was still devoured by guilt. And the way that she was like, I was still devoured by guilt, and at this point, like, it's past tense, and like, does this mean Lauren gets over it? Because I really hope she does get over it. You know?
That's really interesting, because when I first read this, I thought about her just kind of like talking to the other, because the fire here almost like reminds me of the lanterns, especially the scene where it says crash and you just see like the red hazy and like the red dots. It almost looks like the last scene of the lanterns going up. So it's almost like creating like those memories, and she's almost like talking to her past self, like, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know how to describe that, but like she's like remembering that scene and like almost saying it to him in this moment while she's thinking about those lanterns.
That's a nice one. All right, any other last final thoughts?
Okay, so we weren't really able to listen to it because, you know, we're reading it, but there's a track in this with like actual lyrics, and I was like, when I was reading this for the first time, I was like, oh my god, I'm literally gonna add this to every single one of my playlists, you know. Like, I don't know if it's on Spotify yet, but when it is, you know, my playlists aren't safe.
Yeah, I'm with you. I remember, like, when I was listening to it, I was like, okay, I want to talk about the music. I don't remember which episode it was in, but there was one where it might have been this one, where they took a theme that was sad and they made it happy. I think it was for the memory, but I was very impressed. I thought it was very well done. And yeah, music, love the music. It adds so much to it.
Yo, I think it might actually be this episode, because looking at the bottom, it says music by 𝗙𝗵𝗲 and it says track 1 track 1 you variation 1, and you is the track that plays in 49.
Okay, yeah, so that makes sense.
So I just realized that, and it makes me really sad, because you is the track that plays when Dylan dies, and now you is the track playing when Lauren remembers Dylan, and oh my god.
Well played. That's awesome.
So cool.
Yeah.
All right, so if we're done, because I do have another podcast in 5 minutes, so that's good timing. But yeah, thank you so much for joining, and it was so wonderful to chat with you guys with Fwoot and Ocean. It's awesome.
It was great being back. Thank you, Mindy.
Yeah.
I had a ton of fun recording today.
Awesome.
I'm so excited for doing 110 and 111. Like, you have no idea.
Yep. Awesome.
But I can't wait to go read those and sign up for some more episodes.
Yeah. Tell us what you think.
Super excited.
Awesome. All right, have a good night. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much to my current patrons: Susie, Lady Libris, Lily, Jenny, Haley, Molly, Veronica, Emily Jo, Rochelle, Saucy Tuggles, Meg, Ann, Rose, Priya, Alexa, Misty, Laura, Joanne, Patty, Emilda, Esther, and watching people: Taurus, Poppy C, Marie, Jen, Emily, Jean, Jen, Erin, D, Kay, Lily, Beckett, Duranda, Christine, Sadie, Kelly, Daniel, Louisa, Nostaldo, and Kaylee. Your support is truly appreciated.